It's on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they trying to take our live down here, ladies and gentlemen. We live, we back in the building. I know y'all can hear me now because I can see my levels. They trying to take us out, ladies and gentlemen. It's a conspiracy theory, all right? But we live in the building. It is Lake County Unfiltered. I go by the name of BoyLosCrazy. We are live on a Wednesday night. I'm here with a very special guest representing Mano. Mano is the one and only Miss Dulce Ortiz. It's when the sound wasn't on before, but everybody can share the video. Hit the like button for me and tag somebody that may know somebody who need to hear what we're saying. We want to make sure this show is very, very informative. So everybody that's on this live, hit that share button for me and start hitting that button for me. That would be great, 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 great information. My first question to you was, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Not that great.
Okay.
You know, it's been a very difficult, as we said, not even 10 days, right? Mm-hmm. And so it has been this administration just terrorizing the immigrant community. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been difficult. You know, we have directly impacted people at Mano. I have loved ones that are directly impacted, and mm-hmm. so we know the Lake County area has communities of high percentage of Latinos, such as Waukegan, Round Lake area, and Mundelein. Yeah. So it's very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're dealing, because you're dealing with clients day to day, community partners every day. Right now, talk to me a little bit about what it looks like as far as the assistance that you guys actually can help people with at this time.
Sure, but before I get into that, I just want to provide a little context,
sure.
Lay of the land of what's going on with immigration.
Sure.
Immigration law is a lot more complicated than tax law.
Okay.
So that can, give you an idea, right?
Tax law is deep. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's very complex, and our immigration system has been broken for more than 30 years. Mm-hmm. I know that, people say, well, why don't they wait in line? Why don't they get here legally? But one of the things that we have to think about is that people that come to this country came here because they were either fleeing violence, there was economic hardship in their countries, and I don't know about you, but I can't imagine any parent just, picking up their things, taking their children to a completely different country where they don't know the culture, they don't know the language, but in hopes of a better life, right? Sure. And so I can go into the U.S. Foreign policy that has also negatively impacted Latin American countries. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people coming here seeking asylum. Mm-hmm. But all that to say, it's a very complex system. It's something that Congress has not worked on for the past 30 years. Mm-hmm. And so we do have people here that, have set roots. They've been here for decades. Mm-hmm. They have businesses. They own their homes. So they are pillars of the community, mm-hmm. even, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you have an administration that runs on a platform of just anti-immigrant mm-hmm. platform, mm-hmm. but not only that, dehumanizing immigrants, saying they're terrorists, they're, rapists, which, by the way, President Trump is one of them, right? So, but, we know white men get away with anything. So, and again, just running on this platform saying that, they were going to do mass deportations. Now, the narrative was that they were going to come only after criminals, right? Sure. That was the narrative. Sure. Well, that is not the case, and people in the immigration movement, we've known for a very long time that was just an excuse to terrorize Black and brown communities. Right. All that to say that, what happened this weekend with the raids in Mundelein, Round Lake area, and Waukegan, mm-hmm. We know for a fact that these agents did not have warrants. Mm-hmm. We're not targeting just individuals, and if they were, they were knocking on doors of other people that, you know, they didn't have warrants for. Some of these agents didn't even have documents with them. They were just like knocking on doors, right? So we know for a fact that that was just an excuse. And what I tell people is that if you're black and brown, and if you're even a citizen, like, you should be careful. Because we also receive reports from Newark that, you know, these agents were picking up Puerto Ricans. And we know Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens, right? And so really it's just an excuse. And that has instilled a lot of fear in the community. We know a lot of people didn't go to church on Sunday. A lot of people didn't go to work on Monday. And we've had parents that have kept their kids home from school. Because last week on Tuesday, under the Biden administration, there were these safe havens where ICE was not allowed to go to. These were, excuse me, these were schools, hospitals, and churches.
Gotcha.
To name a few. Well, they rescinded it, so now they're all fair game, right? ICE can go in there, they can go into public places, obviously, but that even created even more fear in our community, and so that's why a lot of people don't feel safe. They don't want to leave their homes, and it's really having a very detrimental impact, you know, on their finances, on their mental health. We at Mano, we're trying to do everything that we can to help our immigrant community, but to say the least, you know, it's just been a really tough past few days. And I know I said a lot, so I don't know if you have any questions.
No, that's good. That was good. You kind of gave us everything we wanted with that first statement. But yeah, when you talk about Mano, when you guys have an infrastructure set up for people who need help, obviously, what does that look like for somebody who comes to Mano? I know there's a lot of different things that you guys do, but what does that look like right now for someone that needs help?
Yeah, so, you know, we're a nonprofit. We've been here for 24 years. Our home base is Round Lake, but we do have community sites in Mundelein, Waukegan, North Chicago. We're actually at Waukegan Township as well. So we serve all of Lake County and parts of McHenry County. And our mission is to empower immigrant families. Right now, what we're doing, and, you know, this is something that we've been preparing for a few months, right? Because we know that depending on the election, that was going to lead the work that we were going to be doing. So we prepare for worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario unfortunately happened. And so since December, we've been providing Know Your Rights workshops. And these Know Your Right workshops, what it does, it educates community members about the laws that they have, the rights that they have in this country, and also how to interact with ICE agents, whether they come to their house, whether they stopped, you know, in their vehicle, at work. The other component is family planning, which is really difficult to talk about. Because it gives information to community members, specifically parents, to leave everything ready if they are deported. And so that goes from giving legal guardianship to someone else, a family member or a close family friend. If they own a home, if they own a business, you know, leaving those legal documents in place. And so it's a really difficult situation, you know, to have to walk someone through, like, hey, if this happens, we want to make sure that your kids are taken care of, and that, you know, your assets are taken care of as well. And the last component that we have in these workshops is practice. You know, practice what to say to an ICE agent. I mean, I don't know about you, but the interactions that I had with law enforcement, like if I'm speeding, and you see those lights, you know, it's really intimidating. And even of someone that has their, you know, green card or their citizenship, you know, it does like make your heart beat faster.
For sure. For me, right now,
Exactly, right? And so we also have community members that don't speak English, and so being able to communicate, these words like, I have the right to remain silent, I have the right to an attorney. We want them to practice that so that they can get comfortable doing it under a very stressful situation.
Gotcha.
And so these workshops have been taking place since December 12th. Actually, there's one going on right now at the University Center. And starting next week, we'll be providing virtual because we know that a lot of community members are afraid. I mean, my team actually relayed to me these past couple of days that our community members are even afraid to come to our office because they don't want to drive.
Right.
Not that they're scared something's going to happen there, but they just don't want to drive. They don't want to risk it.
Yeah. Right.
And so by us providing this virtual workshops, make it more accessible in the comfort of their own home, that's what we're going to be doing next.
Gotcha. There might be other community partners, churches, different organizations that want to help to do work that you guys do. How could they help you guys, other organizations and community partners?
Well, how can they...
We don't want to leave you guys hanging. It might be some other organizations that want to help out. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. How can they help us, but also how can we help them, right? So I'll start on the part of how can we help them. We are working right now on a Know Your Rights Train the Trainer session because we know that, Mano a Mano, ASIS, North Suburban Legal Aid, they're doing these workshops, but we can't be everywhere and we can't educate everyone in Lake County, right? And so for us, it would be really helpful for those organizations and partners to be trained on what to do if an ICE agent comes to their office. If they come to their, different facilities, we want to make sure that they know what a warrant looks like, right? Because they cannot enter a place or, an establishment without a warrant.
That's a big thing on social media right now, where they say just because they're a federal organization and they can just do what they want to do under the executive order. Like, well, they got an order from Donald Trump to do this, so they could just bust up in somebody's house if they got information. So that's not true.
That's not true. No, they cannot, legally they cannot come in if there's no warrant. And so, unfortunately, people that were detained this weekend, it's because they opened their doors. But the good news also is that we heard that the majority didn't open their doors.
Gotcha.
So that lets us know that we are making a difference in the community, right? So obviously, signing up for those Know Your Rights Train the Trainer sessions. In addition to that, we do have a website, www.mamfrc.org. We do have a immigration rapid response
Let's get that
page.
on the screen, Sean. Let's get that website on the screen.
We have that web page that provides a lot of resources. Right now it's in Spanish because obviously we're trying to reach the Spanish community. But in the next couple of days, it's going to be translated into English so that our partners and allies can also become familiar with the information, and they can also push it out to their other networks, family members, friends, right? And ensure that everyone is educated in helping our immigrant community. Now, what can they do for us? There's a lot of things that they can do for us. Mano a Mano does a lot of work on the policy end of this. We are a member organization with ICER, which is Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And ICER has been working for to be able to pass laws that are, friendly to our immigrant community. That's why Illinois is considered a welcoming state. The Trust Act that prohibits law enforcement to cooperate with ICE in the state of Illinois, that was passed by ICER member organizations a couple years ago. The driver's license bill that passed also a couple years ago, that was recently implemented last July. So those individuals that had TVDLs or temporary visitor's driver's license, because they were, they didn't have immigration status, now they're able to get their driver's license. And that was because of a bill. So that helps community members feel a little more secure, right? Because you don't have an the TVDL was not even useful. You couldn't present it as a form of identification. But it will let law enforcement know that
You took some steps.
that you were not here legally.
Right.
So it would single you out
Right.
as someone that you're either here on a visa
Sure.
or you don't have immigration legal status.
Sure.
So now by having a driver's license, you know, at least there's not an identifiable document that can single you out.
Gotcha.
So anyway, all that to say that, you know,
I
they've
didn't
been
know any
working
of
on
that. That's amazing stuff to know. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've been working on, you know, passing friendly laws for immigrants. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to strengthen the Trust Act on the state level. So we do have the Trust Act, but the problem now is that, I'm not sure if you know, but Department of Homeland Security has deputized all federal agents
Wow.
to conduct immigration enforcement. So what does that mean? That means that the ATF,
Yeah.
the DEA, the FBI, U.S. Marshals are allowed to do
Wow.
immigration enforcement just like ICE agents.
Wow.
That was not in the bill.
Yeah.
And so we need to add that to the
They
bill.
found a loophole through that's not in right now, but should
Exactly,
be added. Yeah.
exactly. So it's also an awareness for community members because you may see them with like their FBI, you know, whatever jackets or DEA, and you're probably thinking, oh no, those are not ICE agents. Well, now they are.
Wow.
They've been deputized, and so for us now we're trying to, you know, work on these laws to strengthen the protections for immigrants. And so one of the things that people can do, how they can get plugged in, is being able to help us with talking to the legislators, state representatives, state senators. I must say that the Lake County delegation, or those senators and House reps that represent Lake County, have been very helpful, just very supportive.
Gotcha.
And so thankfully we don't have that issue here.
Yeah.
But again, you know, we want to make sure that these laws are strengthened. What else can they do? Obviously, they can help us spread the word, share our website, make sure that they have information in their office about Know Your Rights, whether it's the sessions, whether it's some of the cards that we're providing, ICER cards that have a hotline where community members can call if a loved one is deported or if they're seeing any type of ICE activity.
Gotcha.
Last but not least, we're trying to build a rapid response infrastructure so that when there is ICE activity, people can go check it out and confirm whether or not it's factual. Because we've had a lot of social media activity about ICE being here and ICE being there. And some of that it's even from like other states. But in the fear of the moment, people can, you know, differentiate, like, is that here, is that there?
Right,
so we're trying to build a team with, you know, supporters, organizations that when we hear like, hey, ICE is, you know, at Ross, right, in Waukegan, somebody can go in there and verify and take video, make notes of the date, the time, so we can send out an alert, right, that there is ICE activity. So we're in the process. Obviously, there will be some training that's going to be provided. But yeah, that's what they can do to help us.
That's good information because my inbox is full of questions that I have no answer to. But obviously, Dulce is here giving us good information to what's going on. If you're on live right now, I want to do something. If you could share this video, everybody that's on this live, I need you to share the video, not because I'm trying to go viral, okay? But I'm trying to make sure that people see this video and get all the information that they possibly can get from this interview. And that's the reason why we did it, is to give you guys the information. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Shout out some people. Monica Sewan, I think that's her name. I can't read. Sewan. Yeah, it's Sewan. Nicole Marie, she says, thank you, Carlos, for this. Absolutely. My boy Jose, what up? Deanna McMiller, what's good? Mrs. Sanchez, what's up? Jessica Gomez. Angie Gomez, what's up? Antoine Woods, what's good? Deontay Daniels. Mindy Riley, what up? Frazier Barker was good. Everybody that's watching right now, hit the share button for me. I'm gonna mess this girl name up, but she said you her bestie. Right there. What's that? It's on the screen. It should be. What's that say? See with the heart on there.
Oh, Sarai.
There we go. Because I didn't want to mess your name up.
Yes. My bestie for sure.
Nice.
She's the reason why I'm here.
Oh, nice.
She's taking care of my kids.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Shout out to her. She's holding it down.
Yeah.
Miss Mayfield, she says great information. Edgar Rodriguez says, what is Ann Taylor doing for us for our safety? I don't know if Dulce wants to answer that, but we'll come back to that question. But my question to you would be, do you see a change in how the local law enforcement is moving? Because we know it's a federal thing, but do you see a change in how local law enforcement are moving, or is it pretty much the same?
Again, last year in December, I did reach out to our local law enforcement chief, Navarro, and also Sheriff Eidelberg, right? To have a conversation, obviously remind them about the Trust Act, right? And so, they were very supportive because one of the things that the narrative says, we're going to go after people with criminal records, but we know that's not the case, right? They're tearing families apart. They're picking up people, that are bystanders, pretty much. And so when law enforcement changes their mission to act as immigration agents instead of serve and protect, what happens there is you create, this division and you break the trust.
Sure.
So if people are afraid of law enforcement because, they're going to potentially work with ICE, they're not going to call and report a crime.
Right.
They're not going to call and say, hey, I see something funny going on here. They're just not going to call.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you break the trust. The community's not making those reports. And, crime skyrockets, right? And so they see that. And of course, not because they see that, they're also very supportive of the community overall, right?
Yeah.
They've said it before and they said it again. That is not our job. Our job is not to collaborate with ICE. Our job here is to serve and protect. And as far as I know, there hasn't been any collaboration that we know of in the Lake County area of law enforcement or the sheriff's office with ICE. And so that's really great to know and to hear because, again, we want to make sure that people feel safe. And we want to make sure that, when there is a crime that has happened, that they feel comfortable dialing 911 and not saying, well, I don't want to call because they may detain me and report me to ICE, right? So, yeah, we've had those conversations. I know that the city of Waukegan put out a release along with the chief to let the public know, community members, Waukegan residents know that, hey, our police department is following the Trust Act and they will not cooperate with ICE.
Nice. That's good to hear. You spoke about the legal issues before. What in kind of detail, what are the legal issues that they're facing? Obviously, you said having a real driver's license could deter a little bit of what's going on, but what other legal issues are they actually dealing with day to day? Like the people that we're concerned about. What other legal issues are they dealing with?
I don't know, be specific, more.
So when you think about what happened, the executive order says we need to get all the illegals out the way, right? Basically, that's what they're saying. Is there anything that they could do while they're here right now to kind of start the process or do something?
Okay, gotcha.
Horrible question, and great job.
It's a complex question.
Gotcha.
It's not horrible. It's very
gotcha.
Complex because it's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Not everybody's, it's not a whole blanketed, this is everybody's case, right?
Gotcha.
So it's very difficult. Some people may had come here for asylum and they missed their 1-year application to submit their asylum application. So that's not good news for them. There's really nothing that they can do. And some people just don't have a legal way to become, to have legal immigration status.
Gotcha.
And they've been here for 20, 30 years.
Gotcha.
Again, the law is very complex, but trust me, if there was a way, people would have done it already.
Right.
Nobody wants to live in the shadows. Right? Nobody doesn't. So check this out. We have more than 11 million undocumented sisters and brothers in this country. They pay their taxes, right? They pay into Social Security, they pay into Medicare, they pay into all of that. When they retire, they don't have access to Social Security. When they retire, they don't have any benefits. They don't get any Medicare. Is it Medicare? Right? They don't have any access. And they've been here for 30 years.
Right.
And they've been paying their taxes, paying into this system that will not take care of them when the time comes. Right? And so that's something that's not talked about. Right? When it
they're
comes
contributing to the fabric of the country, to
they're contributing to
more than just the fabric, but the actual system of how it runs.
Exactly. And that's not talked about. So again, back to your question, if there was a way that they could do it, they would definitely do it. A lot of them want to vote, but they can't. Right? It's against the law. And that's what really perplexes me, because some of the things that have been said, it's like, these people with no immigration status, like they want to vote, and no, they don't, because they know it's against the law, and obviously they're going to get in a lot of trouble. And if there is ever an opportunity for them to become, or obtain immigration legal status, that's really going to impact it in a negative way. So they don't want to get in trouble.
It's tough. The climate outside is different, for sure. I was driving around the other day, and I was like, something's definitely different. And it could have been just the amount of people outside just wasn't as normally as it usually is. I got to be careful about how I ask these questions, because I don't want nobody to, get in my inbox talking crazy. What's some stories that that you've heard, that you could obviously be anonymous, but is there any stories that's happened that kind of impact you in a big way?
Yeah, it actually just happened yesterday, when I came here and then went somewhere else. It happened yesterday. It was a couple. They were at the Know Your Rights workshop. And some of the questions, one of the questions that really impacted me, right, because it was just like, wow, this is so painful, is that their son got accepted to Notre Dame in Indiana. So, son, very excited. That has been his dream. And they have some sort of appointment in April, right? And so they asked me, they're like, can we go with him? And so how do you answer that? Knowing that Indiana and the state of Wisconsin don't provide the same protections as the state of Illinois. So for those of you listening that have, friends or relatives that go back and forth to Wisconsin, let's just keep that in mind, that the laws are very different when you cross state lines. And so it was really difficult for me to say this to them, but I said, no, you cannot go with them. Because you don't want to put yourself at risk, right? Sure. And, they did say, that their son was down, that he was sad. And I said, don't discourage your son from changing his mind. If this has been his dream to go to Notre Dame, he needs to go there, right? Because that's why you came to this country, right? To make your dreams happen, to make the dreams of your children a reality. And so encourage him to go. Make sure that you get another family member or close family friend that has, that's a U.S. citizen. Go with him, but don't put yourself at risk, because you may think, nothing's going to happen. We're driving with our son. But you never know. Maybe you have a tail light out. Maybe, your plates are expired. Maybe there's an accident.
You merge into a lane.
Exactly. You never know. And so why risk it, right? And I said, let's keep in mind that hopefully this is not going to be for the 4 entire years. We have midterms in 18 months, and hopefully the Democrats can get it together and we can take over the House and or the Senate and kind of, slow down the process or prevent the process of all these just all this nonsense to stop, right?
It's interesting to see the climate of social media, because I always say social media is a amplified emotion of what people just feel inside, and social media gives them an opportunity to just lay it all out on the line. But you see people, all walks of life, congratulating what's happening, clapping hands, oh my God, it's amazing. But then you, on the other hand, see people that are a little bit more compassionate as far as what they're going through. I'm one of those people that's a little bit more compassionate about what's happening, because I think it's definitely tough to watch. I saw a video where an older lady actually was, taken out of a car, and somebody, either if it had nothing to do with immigration or anything, it was still tough to watch just how they handled this older lady, like she wasn't a human being. And I'm seeing a lot of that on social media where people are kind of, it's like vomit almost. It's coming out so disgusting what people are saying, and I think that's really tough to watch. That's a tough thing for me to witness at 36 years old. Kind of reminds me of things that happened way back in the day with the civil rights era, Jim Crow, some of these things that are happening. And I appreciate you coming on, because this isn't an easy thing to do. I'm sure it's not, because people are targeting people that are helping people. Have you heard anything about people snitching and telling on people or pointing a finger here and there? Have you heard it? And I'm hearing that. I'm hearing a lot of that.
I mean, I'm seeing that on social media, but have I heard of it directly here happening? No.
Gotcha.
No, I think that, Lake County, it's an immigrant community, and, for the most part, we have people that are very supportive. Let's not talk about McHenry County, because that's a whole different level.
I'm sure.
Right? But overall, thankfully, no, I have not heard about that, and I believe in karma.
Yeah, me too.
So, people that voted for this president thinking that he was going to decrease the price of eggs. Yeah. Well, guess what? There was just an article right now. It's going to increase 20%. So there are real issues that this administration could be addressing, and instead, we're being used as a form of entertainment.
You know what's crazy, Dulce? A lot of people don't feel the effect of the federal government directly. They don't. It's usually like maybe a state law that people kind of feel like immediately.
Right.
I think this was one of the first times that something happened federally that people felt immediately, because politics is slow. And I think what will happen from this, it will sway people away from that, because it happened so fast, and it's like, oh my God, this is real. I thought he was playing, but he obviously was not joking. But I think people will feel they feel the gravity of it, and I think it'll bring power back to people actually voting. I really believe that. I hope it does that, because it's surprising to see people say that I voted for him, but I didn't know he was going to do it for real. It's people on live television saying that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel the same way, I didn't know he was really going to do it. And it sucks. Yeah,
and I mean, there's Project 2025. Mm-hmm. It's a guide, for white supremacists. Mm-hmm. And, what I want to talk about, too, is, this is impacting immigrants. Mm-hmm. It's impacting our African American community, right? He removed the DEI agency.
Definitely.
It just closed it down.
Shout out to Costco. They kept it alive. They kept it going. Yes. Everybody else removed it, but yeah.
LGBTQIAA+, they're also being persecuted. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, when we talk about these issues, it's very intersectional, right? Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, he's terrorizing Black and brown communities, because if you're a white man or a white woman, they're not going to care if you're here, if your immigration status is legal. We haven't seen them go into white immigrant communities like the Polish and Ukraine. Not that I want them to, right? But you can see where they're focused and what they are targeting. and everything that your ancestors fought for, you know, in civil rights, everything that my ancestors fought for, right, when it comes to the rights of those that were working, you know, in the farms, in the fields, right, for better working conditions.
Yeah.
Everything is being dismantled, and I don't think that, you know, my issue is just my issue. I think all of our issues are intersected.
I agree.
And there's power in numbers.
Sure.
As we saw, you know, the craziness of him just stopping all federal grants.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean,
And where that money directly goes tells you everything. Yeah. Where most of that money mostly goes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, again, for people that voted for him and said, well, I don't have to worry, I can promise you he's going to do something with the tariffs.
Definitely.
Right? The tariffs. What he's trying to do with really just our education system. He wanted to get rid of he probably still is going to get rid of the Department of Education. And so I'm sad to say, but everyone is going to be negatively impacted.
I agree.
And as you said, you know, there's people that are, you know, clapping that this is happening. Well, you're going to be next.
Yeah. In some form or fashion, I believe that for sure. Just based on, like you said, the actual laws, well, the things that he's trying to do so abruptly. And he's hanging it on the fact that there's some corruption behind these things, so he's trying to audit it or change it so it redirects. But if that would have went through, luckily the judge, you know, kind of, you know, froze the stay, but I think he's still going to try to do it again. But that literally would have affected your kids at college, like directly, and that's everybody. That's everybody. You know what I mean? So even for conservative people that may have voted for Trump, that would have affected them too. So it's interesting how it'll spill over. You're right, and I think it will affect everybody with the DEI stuff. And that's not being talked about a lot, though. That's kind of like a third point at this point, and that's a huge thing that's happening. And you see these businesses, you know, they're right with it. They're like, okay, we'll cut it off. You know what I mean? So it's a tough time right now, and people are feeling the difference. Even in business is slow for a lot of people, just because their emotions are down, not because of people, but people just don't feel upbeat right now. They feel kind of beaten up.
Not only they don't feel upbeat, they're in fear.
They're in fear. Yeah.
You know, so we've had several community members. They just don't want to leave their homes.
Wow.
And so then you have family members bringing them food, buying the groceries, and it's like a ghost town. It was like a ghost town on Sunday in Waukegan.
Yeah.
And so we have to think about what happens, right? And this is a narrative that I don't really like to talk about, the economic narrative, right? Because I feel that immigrants, I know that immigrants such as myself, we contribute a lot more than just dollars. We're human beings, first and foremost. But at the same time, I mean, when you go to a restaurant, who are the people that work there?
Yeah.
The landscape, who are the people that do that job? And so I don't want to go there, but I do see how it's going to economically impact, you know, cities like Waukegan, Round Lake, Mundelein. If people are not going out to eat, they're not going out to the grocery store, they're not going out, you know, to do any form of entertainment, those businesses are losing revenue.
Definitely.
And if they can't make the revenue, they can't pay the rent, they can't pay for the product, what do you think is going to happen? If they can't pay their employees, what do you think is going to happen? You know? And so, again, I don't like going there because I think we're just more than that. But, you know, this is also a message for elected officials, right? That this is going to impact revenue at the end of the day if people are scared. Another story that was brought up to us, and maybe Brandon can talk about it a little more in some other segment, is that we're hearing that people are not depositing their money. They're taking their money out. They're withdrawing their money. When they're getting paid, they're not depositing their check. They're cashing their check.
Wow.
And that's because in case if they get taken or a loved one gets taken, how do you access that money if you're not here, right?
That's big. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So now the banks are, you know, scrambling. Okay, so we need money in our bank,
Sure.
right? But if people are taking their cash out, they're not depositing, no more direct deposit, is just taking the money out. And there's a lot of community members. Myself, when I first heard of, what Trump was deciding to do, and I'm like, well, if anything happens to my loved one, like, I'm going to move back to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Because, this person is so near and dear to me that I can't imagine myself here and them over there.
Wow.
And so I had those thoughts, and we have people of privilege, such as myself, that if we do want to pick up and move, we can move, and there's options and opportunities, right? But we have a lot of community members that don't have that privilege.
Wow.
That families are being torn apart, head of households are being taken.
Yeah.
So what happens, to the kids?
Yeah.
What happens to the family?
Yeah.
If you have two people contributing to the household, one or two gets taken away. I mean, it's just going to have a lot of detrimental impacts that people didn't think about. And sadly, this is happening, and this is real, and we're dealing with it.
Last couple questions. Looking forward at the landscape of what's going on, how can other community members help? We talked about the organizations. How could other individuals help people that may be in need at this time? And maybe partner with Mano, maybe, who knows? How can they help?
Of course. So again, at Mano, we try to do the best that we can, right? But I do want to give other shout out to other organizations, like ASIS, North Suburban Legal Aid, Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, ICER, that they've done a lot of great work. Again, building that rapid response, our team alone can't do it, even with the other organizations, right? Because we're beyond capacity right now. And so for those that are interested in getting more involved on this rapid response team, Celeste Flores, our director of community building, she's taking lead, in this project. And so that would be super helpful for us because, again, we want to make sure that, we know that ICE activity, ICE will continue to come to our communities. But we want to make sure that we're giving out factual information. I think also, if I can make a note, for those of you listening, let's stop sharing people getting detained. Where they're putting handcuffs when they're being taken away. That's very painful, right? And again, I feel like we're being used as a form of entertainment.
Sure.
So if you come across this video of, ICE making arrests and so on and so forth, let's not share it.
Sure.
Because, these are loved ones that have family members. And just imagine you having someone taken away and then having to see it on social media over and over and over again. It's very traumatizing. Obviously, I'm not telling people not to post like any factual ICE activity. You can put, a picture and say, hey, they're here at this time, at this date, at this location. It's been verified. That's fine. But it's just like living the trauma all over again for these family members. So, again, anyone that wants to get involved, donations are always welcome, of course, donating to the cause. Holding your elected officials accountable, making calls also on the federal level. We know we have a lot of fights coming up, and so we'll need you to call your congressmen, your U.S. senators, right? We're going to need a lot of help. And so, again, there's a lot of ways that people can help, people can get plugged in. But the other thing I also want to note is that if you think that you don't know someone that's being impacted by this, I can assure you 100% that you do know someone. There's mixed status households, and what does that mean, right? Like there's people living in one household that are citizens, that are residents, maybe DACA recipients, and that also have no immigration legal status.
Gotcha.
And they all have friends, and they all have families that are directly impacted. So everyone has someone that's being impacted by this. Not everyone's going to say publicly or even before, right? Oh yeah, I'm undocumented. Like they're not going to say that, right?
No.
But if you have a Latino friend, you know that that's the case.
I knew
right?
a guy. I knew a guy for a long time. I won't say his name, but over 20 years, and did not know.
Yeah.
And he ended up being deported. Something else happened, but I didn't know, and he never mentioned it, or it was never a thing. So you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I was able to see that with my own eyes. Any last messages you want to let people know?
Yeah, I would just say that to your point, you know, about DEI and, you know, all this stuff, this is by design. This administration is purposely putting out all these executive actions and just trying to flood us with a lot of negative policies, right? Policies or executive actions, so that we get overwhelmed and so that we just don't know what to do, not know how to respond. And what I want to say is for people to just take a step back, because I have to tell myself to take a step back, breathe, and there are things that we can control and there's things that we cannot control.
Sure.
And what you do have control over is getting involved. I'm really grateful for this show, for the invitation as well.
Absolutely.
Because you are making an impact to getting this information out. You know, make sure that, you know, the information that you're seeing on social media is factual. And just know that this administration is out to get our Black and brown communities, you know, not just immigrants. And there's power in numbers.
Absolutely. I heard it first right there, ladies and gentlemen. Share the video. Please hit the share button. Hit the heart button for me for the next 20 seconds. Just do it for the next 20 seconds. Just hit it on your phone for the next 20 seconds. If you know somebody who's impacted by what's going on, hit the heart button, share the video. Make sure you reach out to Mano or Mano. They got many, many, many ways that you can help, different trainings for people. And I'm sure they can teach you and show you what ways you need to be moving right now to make sure that you're not putting anybody at risk or anybody in harm's way. I'm sure that they can show that. They will show that. I want to shout out my sponsor, The Closet Space. Without them, you know, the lights wouldn't be on right now. 2700 Sheridan Road in Zion, Illinois. Make sure I get to The Closet Space. They can hook you up with something really, really cool. They got 35% off on anything in the store. Most things in the store, 35% off. If you tell them I sent you, you might get another 10% off on that joint right there. If you say BoyLosCrazy sent me, you might get another 10% off. I want to shout out everybody that was watching today, man. Everybody, Irene, Nicole, Marie, I could read some comments. Mississippi could pay bounty hunters rewards for finding illegal immigrants, a state law that they are trying to pass, she says. Deanna McMiller says Trump isn't playing. He said this day one is so sad. Edgar says it's $30 for eggs. Definitely feel like it's $30. We had another comment here. Jessica Trevino, what's up, Jess? She says if something I've learned from the pandemic is that media does a great job instilling fear in people, and when we operate in fear, we are easier to manipulate. Stay sovereign. We are being distracted yet again. Unfortunately, it's real as the pandemic, and people are being affected. But stay woke. Stick together because the enemy wants us against each other, so we're not strong enough to stick together. Don't forget your humanity and moral compass. Yesenia Navarro says, thank you for being informative. Michelle Mayfield said this was impactful and very informative. Nicole Hernandez says all Latinos are not undocumented. We need to stop spreading that as well. She also says, I disagree. I believe we should share because we will start seeing U.S. citizens. That's what she says. Myra says, thank you for saying that. Andrew Gatson says voting matters, especially the local vote. I messed it up. Leah Benjamin says, thank you for sharing our voice. We got a few more. Claudia Freeman says, thank you, Dulce and Carlos. Tania Garza says, Dulce, thank you as always for all you do for our community. And then Miss Mayfield says, ultimately, this does truly now this impacts everyone. Absolutely, this does impact everyone. We appreciate everybody watching, man. It is Lake County Unfiltered from Lake County Media. I'm the BoyLosCrazy. I want to thank my guests, Dulce Ortiz, for coming through, representing Mano and Mano. True Conglomerate, without them, we wouldn't literally have a place to record. Shout out to True Conglomerate Productions. Coffee B over there, Shauna Marie over there is the producer. Send my boy Brandon Ewan, he's in the building as well. It's the BoyLosCrazy. If you knew better, you'd do better. I need 2 sweaters. We'll see y'all next time. The interview that we have for tonight after this show has been canceled, y'all. We had Jennifer Banek, the Lake County Coroner, coming in right after Dulce, but that has been canceled. But we do have a special announcement we're going to announce tomorrow morning. We got a big guest on the show tomorrow at 7, so make sure y'all stay in tune. It's the BoyLosCrazy. If you knew better, you'd do better. Need 2 sweaters. See y'all next time.
We the topic discussion, yeah. It's the crazy ride show. Hold up, you know that we bust. It's a crazy ride show, man. You know that we bust, yeah. It's a crazy ride show. Hold up, you know that we bust it, yeah. It's a crazy ride show. Hold up, you know that we.